Our Bailey Warfield is down by Central Entrance and Arlington Avenue. How are things looking out there right now, Bailey?
Hey, Amy. Well, things really aren't looking too bad, but there aren't many people out on the roads yet this morning, which is probably a good idea. Yesterday, of course, the big story was how much snow we were going to get. Today, it's dropped. Temperatures have dropped, so there's a layer of ice on the roads underneath the snow. That's what's making driving conditions less than ideal this morning. Of course, there's also the wind to consider. It's not too bad when I'm standing out here and there's no wind gust, but as soon as one comes up, it's blowing that powdery snow up into my face as soon as the temperatures dropped. Obviously, the snow froze. Yesterday, someone described the snow as kind of goopy. It was sort of slushy down by the lake. Now, it's freezing into blocks because the temperatures have dropped so much. I was out at Spirit Mountain yesterday and people were calling it sticky then. Well, now I can just break it with my two hands because it's freezing now. So road conditions, they do mostly seem to be plowed. Some of the side roads and some of the intersections still have those thick layers as the plows go by and push stuff off to the side. But really not too bad. Just definitely take it slow because of that layer of ice underneath the snow. You never know when you're going to hit one of those icy patches. So do be safe on the roads today. Amy, we'll check back in throughout the show.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you for braving the cold and the wind. Thanks, Bailey. Live this morning, braving this weather on the intersection of Central Entrance and Arlington Avenue, checking out the latest road conditions for us. How are things looking right now, Bailey?
Well, good morning, Amy. You know, things aren't looking too bad under here, but I do have your two necessities with me that you're going to need this morning. You're going to need some coffee because we've gotten through the storm and it's going to get you through your Friday, and you're really going to need your scraper because there is a thick layer of ice covering vehicles this morning. There's also ice on the roads with a little bit of snow over it. So this is going to come in handy. It took me at least 10 minutes, I would say, this morning to scrape off my car before I headed out to the station. So make sure you plan ahead for that. There's definitely some thick ice. You gotta scrape it. It's not that frost that you can just sit and hope that your defrost will take care of for you. And, you know, yesterday, obviously, a lot of snow. A lot of it was that wet, heavy, slushy kind of snow. Now that seems to have frozen this morning. So where there were footsteps in the snow where people hadn't shoveled yet, maybe, now those footsteps are pretty much frozen this morning. So if your neighbors are complaining about you not shoveling your sidewalk, maybe this is why, because it's going to freeze the next day. Yeah. Temperatures have dropped quite a bit, and there are some wind gusts that we're dealing with this morning. It's not too bad out here when the wind isn't blowing. When it is, it kind of hurts your face. But you know what? I'm staying warm with my coffee. It's okay. We're having fun out here, and we'll be checking in throughout the show to update you on the conditions. Yeah. Back to you, Taylor and Amy.
Thank you so much, Bailey. First, the time is now 6:09, and the weather is beginning to calm down a bit, but there are changes on the way. We'll tell you what to expect when we come back. Don't go away. Warfield again. She joins us this morning. How are things looking out there, Bailey?
Hey, Amy. Well, yesterday the big story, of course, was the snow. A lot of it was that wet, heavy, slushy kind of snow that was great for making snowmen, and thanks to many of you who sent in pictures of your snowmen. But today, conditions are a lot different. Temperatures dropped overnight, and now we're dealing with ice on the road. So I think you can see behind me on Arlington Avenue here, Kevin's going to zoom in for us, and you can see how the glare of the ice is sort of shining through the snow thanks to the street lights out there. So that's what you should expect if you're planning on heading out, if you're working today. This is what you can expect this morning. We've been out here about half an hour, and I've probably seen half a dozen plows so far. So they certainly are out on the roads making sure that snow is clear and putting down some materials. But definitely be aware that there is that layer of ice underneath on the roads. So you're going to want to slow down, be cautious, especially when you're coming up to stoplights and intersections. Back to you, Amy.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Bailey. Our Bailey Warfield is live in downtown Duluth with the latest on the conditions outside. How are the roads, Bailey?
Hey, Amy. Well, you know, maybe you're just waking up. If you are, newsflash, the snow has stopped. It didn't seem like it would, but it did. It stopped, and temperatures dropped significantly overnight. So yesterday morning, I was out at Spirit Mountain. I was getting soaking wet because the snow was just so wet and heavy. It was just dripping off of my hat. This morning, it's a completely different story. So this is a tool that you are going to need this morning. I don't know if you can hear it right now, but there's a sidewalk sweeper sweeping off the patio of the library below me, so that's that noise. But yeah, you're gonna need a scraper this morning. It took me about 10 minutes to clear off my car this morning. There's a thick layer of ice on there. Definitely requires a scraper. Maybe you won't be brushing as much snow off, but you will be scraping some ice off. So be aware of that as you're heading out, and also be aware that there is a thin layer of ice underneath on the roads. It's not quite as bad downtown here as it was up on the hill off of Central Entrance where we were a few minutes ago. But overall, conditions are looking pretty good. Most of the roads are clear. Just be aware of that ice. Back to you, Amy.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you, Bailey. Coming up on Good Morning Northland, the storm in our region will finally begin to wrap up. Taylor will be back with a look at your weekend forecast. But first, the time is now 6:38, and here's Mix 108's Jean and Cooper in the morning with this week's Hot 5. Warfield, who is live in downtown Duluth for us. Bailey, how are things looking down there?
Hey, Amy. Well, I just decided to take a little break here. The library left these picnic tables out. So I thought, why not sit down and enjoy my cup of coffee this morning? No, the roads really don't seem terrible, but definitely icy patches all over the place. Yesterday, that snow was that wet, heavy stuff. Today, that has frozen over, as you just mentioned. And there's definitely some thick ice underneath the roads in a lot of places. On the sidewalks, if they weren't shoveled or plowed yesterday, and there were footprints in the slushy snow, those have frozen now. So I know my trek from my apartment to my car was a little precarious because of all the dips in those frozen footprints and stuff. Yesterday, I probably could have made a little snowman for you on this table. Today, you can see it's a lot more powdery here, but definitely much more frozen as well. So you're gonna want a cup of coffee this morning if you're venturing out. You're gonna want your scraper. If your kids went sledding yesterday, their sledding hill might be a little frozen over this morning. So definitely be cautious out there. We haven't ventured onto the highway yet, but there's been lots of plows out. We've seen them continuously go by, and those DTA buses have been running all morning too. Yeah. So shout out to the plow drivers and the bus drivers.
Yes,
Amy.
And shout out to you, Bailey, for braving it. Thank you for demonstrating how icy that snow is really gonna get. Thanks, Bailey.